Woo. Hey, what's going on? What's going on? We back at it. Live video, man. I gotta get a lot off my chest, what I've been doing, what I've been up to, all that good stuff. So tonight we have a lot to talk about, right? Property taxes, what happened at City Council. I was there in person. My new Fair Housing Task Force appointment. What I'm seeing in real estate, an upcoming financial literacy event, and why I'm headed to Chicago next week. Then immediately ask, I want you to know. I want to know where you're from, what zip code you're at, all that good stuff. Where you currently watching from? I said currently X. Look, man, I put all that in the script. All that is in the script right now. Where you currently located? So drop down, drop in here your zip or where you're located, all that good stuff. I want you guys to know. I'm going to introduce myself here just in case for the ones that don't know who I am. My name is Mike Clark. I'm a realtor out here in El Paso, Texas, also located next to Fort Bliss, Texas, which is in El Paso, right? Been doing real estate now, feels like my whole life at this point. But as a realtor, I've been doing a realtor for about a year, some change. I'm going on my 2-year mark will be in May. So I got a little time to hit that 2-year mark. However, prior to me being a realtor, I have done everything on the residential side, basically, from living flips to fixing flips to, man, what else? 1031 exchanges. Like I've done a lot and trained through what? YouTube University. I learned a lot through there as well. So, I mean, I'm sure if I had ChatGPT or some AI, I would have used that as well. But I've learned a lot. Now, adding the more detailed side of it from being a licensed realtor and understanding everything behind why realtors do what they do, now it all comes together. It all comes together. One thing I like to do specifically is let you know that information, because prior to me getting into this, I really didn't feel like, honestly, that a realtor did anything. But, I'm here to explain a little bit more, give you a little more information, of course, all that good stuff. So I want to start this conversation off by talking about what happened at City Council. It got a little insane for the first time that, I did not expect that it was going to go that particular way. I really believed no matter what happened with public comment, that at the end of the day, the decision was already made, which, would have made sense anyway, because they've been planning this and they've been going over it and they've been reviewing the budget for months at a time. One thing about our city manager, Diana Mack, I think it's Diana Mack, she actually gets a head start on the budget. So, I mean, great job to her putting everything out. They do reach out to each and every city rep. I'm going to always say my piece at the end of the day, because Miss Mack has a job, so she has to make sure she's doing what she's supposed to do to present a budget that's working for the city. But what I would say, just from a homeowner's perspective, is, I'm going to say what people don't want to say. We need to get more money from these businesses. We have to drive we need revenue, man. We need sources of revenue where homeowners is not the only option, and you could take it a bunch of different ways when people say that, like, hey, if the option is not to raise taxes on the homeowners, where are they supposed to get the money from? It's from the businesses. So, well, we raise taxes on the businesses, what's going to happen? They're just going to raise the price on whatever, so it's just one of those things, man, that it's a tough answer. It's a tough situation regardless. To balance the budget at the end of the day is very, very difficult. I'm not going to sit here and say it's an easy thing, but even from last year, the exact same conversation came up. They didn't increase the tax rate too high, I don't believe, or not even. It was just very small, right? However, because property values continue to go up, you're going to constantly pay higher on your property taxes regardless. So it's not even going to really matter at the end of the day. I want you guys to understand. So when you're looking at your property tax bill, so let's just rewind for a little bit. When we're talking about our property tax bill, right? You're talking about 4 to 5 entities on your property tax bill. So if you don't have a home, or you've never seen a tax bill before, or you don't understand it, and I'm still learning. Even as a realtor, I'm still learning. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm still learning. But the way you have to understand it right now, and this is the knowledge that I have at this moment, is simply, well, before I go there, so the other part of this is all for educational purposes only. Remember, I am a realtor, but I'm not your realtor. Please consult your tax attorney. Please consult an attorney. Any information that's here is just strictly for informational purposes only. So I got to say that first and foremost. Let me get that out the way. All right, so back to it. So your tax bill is broken up into like 5 or 6 entities. So you're talking about, we're paying as homeowners to EPCC. You're paying to UNMC, right? The hospital is getting paid. Also, you're talking about the city, the county. If you're in a MUD or a PID, that's in there as well. Municipal utility district, or a public infrastructure district. Those could be entities that are added to your property tax bill. Now, each one of them are responsible for their tax rate. And so some will decide to increase their tax rates and some don't. One great example is EPCC. Currently, they're not doing it as often. I don't know if they're raising their property tax rate this year, but the reason why they don't go up as much is because they have their few campuses, and they've been maintaining it, and they've been doing a great job, and that's just what that is. I really think, in my mindset, that that if the way EPC is handling their finances the exact same way I believe the school districts need to be handling it. And I'm gonna say this is like, you gotta bring down the amount of campuses across El Paso. Unfortunately, that's not something that people want to hear at all. Like I said, man, I go back. I'm from South Bend, Indiana originally. My high school is closed down. My middle school has been repurposed. It's not even a middle school anymore at this point. My elementary school is closed down and been repurposed to something totally different. And, I could be upset about that all day. However, I understand the demand of the city. I understand how funding works. I get it, and if that's going to help relief, if that's going to help the overall cost or the burden on the homeowner, then we have to do it, man. It sucks that you can't go back to that school. However, as long as everything is still moving forward, there's still a lot of things happening that's great within the school districts. I'm all for it as long as we have a plan for it, right? And so that's what I believe out here in El Paso, Texas, has to happen. Again, that's a conversation nobody really wants to have or want to have on their mind at this moment, but it is what it is. But anyway, going back to the tax entities, that's what that is. Everyone who has their entities, they're the ones who are dictating those particular tax rates. What happens after that is, once those tax rates are figured out and voted on, of course, then now you're talking about pushing that information over to the central appraisal district. Central appraisal districts are in charge of the assessment value of your home. And then, whatever that assessed value is, multiply that by whatever that tax rate is. That's what your bill is going to be for each one of those entities. And you add all that together, that's your total tax bill, right? And if you have a mortgage, you have an escrow set up. So, of course, all that stuff should be put through your escrow account. So if you buy a new build, or you got a home that you recently got, and you're like, man, my bill wasn't like this last year, well, most likely something changed within your escrow, whether it is the taxes, your property taxes, or it's insurance. Things like that change as well. I don't want to scare you. If you are a homeowner, you just have to be very knowledgeable of what's going on, and expenses, of course, and making sure you're keeping track of your assessed value of your home. Additionally, of course, and that's just what it is. So now, going back to the city council meeting yesterday. So we did public comment yesterday. I actually signed up to speak at the time of the item. For some reason, they put me at speaking on that item during public comment. So I missed my opportunity to speak with everybody else within that item. I don't know what happened, man. It is what it is. So I was a little unprepared. I wasn't really ready. I still was kind of writing out what I wanted to say, but for the most part, I did go up there confidently. I spoke. Like I said, always when I go up there to speak, I don't know everything, but I'm going to have my voice heard regardless of how it sounds, how it comes off, any of that good stuff. I want to make sure you understand that what I feel as a homeowner. I don't go up there as a realtor. I don't go up there as in any other capacity other than a homeowner, a father, someone who's been living out here in El Paso, Texas, for a while now. And, I have my opinion on what I believe that particular budget is, and I'm going to voice that opinion at that time, right? So it is intimidating a little bit. I mean, when I'm looking at those individuals, it look like they're upset, but I get it. They've been there for hours, so I try to take it with a grain of salt. But for the most part, again, my conversation and what I said specifically was simply, we need to look at this budget. We need to get creative with this budget. My overall mindset with this is, we do not have the money to fund some of these programs. We don't have money to essentially, we don't have the funds to do what we've been doing. And a big portion of the overall budget goes to the employees, which is, of course, we need a city to be ran the right way. We have to give raises, because that was one piece that I ended up learning about, is a lot of this city employees are not being paid no more than minimum wage. And they've been working in these same roles for years. So you got to look at it from that standpoint too, is, you've been working a job for 5, 10, 15 years, and someone coming in tomorrow makes just as much as you do. Everybody deserves a pay raise, of course. Are we planning for that accordingly? I don't know. Looking at this budget, I would say, hell no, we're not doing that. That's not what we're doing. So the answer cannot just continuously be, let's raise property taxes to offset costs or to cover future costs. We have to plan for that accordingly. And I get it. I'm gonna keep saying I get it, because I read the comments, I see what everyone's saying, but we have to have some sort of income coming into this city. And we have to utilize and get on these department heads to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. One of the biggest things that I've seen, or I was hearing, and again, maybe I'm wrong. If someone wants to put in a comment section, please let me know. But I'm frustrated with this part. Fleets, whether it's the police department, fire department, whoever, those vehicles that are being purchased, we're purchasing them cash. We're not leasing them, we're purchasing these vehicles. And there's a lot of wear and tear on these vehicles. And so at some point, we need to be rotating these vehicles out, purchasing new vehicles. I don't know. I didn't hear no plans of, hey, let's sell vehicles at a certain life point. Like, why are we waiting for these vehicles to get to a 10-year life cycle, and we're not selling it at a year 5 and rotating and slowly just changing over vehicles? That's one thing. Second thing is, like, where's the lease option on some of the equipment that's needed for El Paso? I heard that, a lot of the city lights are down. There's a lot of repairs that's needed, and the wait time on getting these things repaired is extremely long, right? And it's specific equipment that we need to get this done and be able to get crews put together and teams put together, right? Why can we not lease this out? Why can we not find a contractor to do this, or contract to complete this? I'm confused of why everything needs to be done in-house. That was frustrating, right? To understand and hear that. I think the other thing I was frustrated with the process with on this particular budget, and just not hearing from these department heads. I'm always going to be a stickler about Parks and Recs. Parks and Recs to me is, I feel like we're missing the mark with Parks and Recs, because simply there's opportunities. And I've heard it because I used to coach youth football, right? we're not having tournaments out here. We're not having top schools come out and travel out here. No matter if it's football, baseball, whatever sport may be, I think we're missing that opportunity of generating funds through parks and recs. We're building these beautiful recreation centers. Beautiful. They're extremely expensive, bro. Extremely expensive. The East Side Sports Complex, extremely expensive. I don't think we should even spend half of that on that. And I'm just gonna be real with you, man. Like, I get it. We want these beautiful facilities, but at what cost? When it's gonna cost the homeowners all this money, like we could still accomplish that and cut the cost in half. If we're not gonna maximize these facilities, what is the point? We're not having district meetings, or I'm not district meetings, but I mean, we're Midwest, so why are we not having teams travel to us, pay to come here, pay for tournaments? Why are we not having festivals and things that the city can truly benefit from overall? So that's frustrating to hear when you're seeing a budget and the only source of revenue is from property owners. That's frustrating. And then the state is trying to offset costs and make it a little cheaper for businesses to operate within Texas. So they do something with the exemptions, right? So now the businesses don't have to pay property tax at this point, or a lot of property tax at this point. And the city's like, well, we still need that money. So where do we get the money from? It's the homeowners. We're upset because you have more veterans. Of course, they have their exemptions, and then you have 65 and older. They have their exemptions as well. And, that is money we're losing, of course, but I think there's still opportunity where you're still making money overall. I mean, they're still paying utilities. They're still paying lights, water, and gas. They're still paying for insurance. They live here. They're in an area. They may be paying a mud pit or HOA. So there's still money being done. It's just not coming directly to the city. So, the conversation again was to be honest, felt like for months no one talked to no one, or it got to a point where we're ready to get campaign times coming and we have to just save face. For months we should have figured this out. I think the other thing frustrating in the moment when I was watching it was, okay, well, we voted it down. And that was the goal. That's what people want a public comment for. It was like, hey, we want to vote this where we don't approve this particular tax rate. We don't want taxes to be increased. I'm not naive. I knew taxes were going to go up regardless. But nonetheless, for that to be the first time that's ever happened and no one had a conversation about what happens if we don't vote for this particular tax rate, what does that look like? I don't think any of the rest were prepared for that. Because normally when you're talking and having these discussions, some of it's it's an open session, right? It's open meetings, but majority of this stuff is executive session. This stuff is behind closed doors. These are in meeting in their particular offices. So to have this conversation out loud in front of everybody was crazy. It was crazy. It's like airing your dirty laundry. That was the frustrating part. I felt like Chris Canales, sometimes I don't like what he votes on and some of his comments, but I mean, overall, he made sense at the end of the day. Like, look, we're not going to vote for this. Okay, cool. But now we have to make a decision. We can't just throw it back to city staff to make a decision for us or redo the budget. No, we have to do it right now in the moment. And it seemed like he was the only one who understood that, right? So that was extremely frustrating. So he did throw out some proposals. He said, hey, look, let's not raise anything. Let's go to the alternative budget. And let's just increase what's necessary, right? And I think he threw out like 4 or 5 different motions. Some of them didn't even get a second. Some of them got a second but got voted down. That was insane to me. There was 2 others, Trujillo, Cynthia Trujillo and Lamone. I like them, I do, but I felt like they should have had something they needed to make more of a discussion overall of what they wanted to see. I think I did see Cynthia. She did put out, a different. She put out an alternative plan as well. So she tried to throw out a motion as well. I believe. I think I remember her throwing one out, but I know for sure Lamone did not put anything out. I think she was already frustrated because they were increasing. What were they increasing? They were increasing something specifically. She spoke about it, but they were increasing something specifically that she just didn't like, and she knew immediately she wasn't voting for the proposed tax rate, and that's cool. But if you know that, then you need to have something written up as a proposed motion in that moment, man. Like, be ready. It was just a lot of, like, it felt like you have 8 people up there, 9 people up there, right? And everybody was on their own. They had their own idea of what they wanted to do. It didn't seem like a collective of let's put this together, let's figure this out. How do we compromise? Let's have a conversation. Let's save face for the people, so we can still build confidence that we know what we're doing. It just, man, it just looked like everybody was upset with everybody. And again, when I went up there to speak, I honestly felt like, as I was speaking, I was like, man, I don't know why I'm coming up here to speak. I already know they have their mind made up. So again, when it got denied, the motion got denied, or not even the motion, but the tax rate got denied, I was shocked. It was something else. And then, like I said, seeing that there was other motions being proposed, some were seconded, and they were being voted down was crazy. I think the mayor got frustrated at one point. He's like, man, has this ever happened in the history of El Paso? And he was talking to the deputy city manager, and he was like, not since I've been here. I've never heard this ever happening before. I think this conversation should have been had before they even came out, or this should have went into executive session. Now, what I did find out too that made sense, and it was a little frustrating because Chavez kept hinting towards it, is that we have conversations going on right now with the fire department, the union, man, unions are powerful, bro. They are powerful, truly powerful. However, in this instance, what they're doing is the reason why they wanted to increase the property taxes is to prepare for this particular contract. I forgot what they call it, some sort of agreement. But that's what this was about. It was simply because they're getting prepared. They thought for sure they would already come to an agreement earlier before they even got to this point. But because they didn't, they don't know what that contract looks like going into next year. And so they're trying to prepare for that. So that's what Chavez was saying. District 1 was like, look, I get it, but we're trying to prepare for something like this next year, or whenever this contract gets approved, that's next year. But right now, do we have enough money for the budget right now as it's been proposed? Do we have enough money right now? And in so many ways, that's the way she was saying it over and over and over. And I felt like they were ignoring her when she was saying that. I get it. We're trying to get ahead of it, but you're trying to get ahead of it at what cost? You can't do that. I don't agree with that. We can't be putting people in harm and making them spend more money on their property taxes because we know this is coming up. Well, if this is coming up, we got to figure something else out. We got to make decisions. That's just what it is. That was the conversation throughout, man. It was, again, from start to finish of hearing that conversation and then seeing everything get denied. And then when it finally got approved, I was like, okay, but it still was an increase. Even when you saw today's headlines, everything said property tax increase, regardless of how it was done. I mean, it was still less than what was proposed originally, which I think that's a win. But I get now why they have to act a certain way too, because the headlines are going to show, regardless, it was an increase. It looks bad on them, you know. And again, Lamone and Trejo were the only ones who didn't vote for any tax rate. They're the only ones. So they look like they didn't vote to increase anything. But people from El Paso or the city, the citizens aren't going to understand that. They're going to understand that they had to vote. So at some point, they could not leave until they voted and made a decision. And if they didn't, then it was going to, there's some deadlines that have to be met at the end of the day. So it was intense at the end of the day. I'll say that. It was intense at the end of the day. The conversation was intense. Going back and forth was intense. I would say, like I said, overall, the conversation that's being had in it, that was crazy. It just felt like they had written statements. Nobody wanted to talk to nobody. And that was, just from a citizen's perspective, that was frustrating. Like, y'all know each other. Like, let's work this out. Let's figure this out and let's move on. And if we knew we were gonna get to this point, we should have had this figured out from jump. Or, I guess I'll put on the mayor, why couldn't we go in executive session for this situation? Why not even ask the city attorney, is this something we can go in executive session for so we can talk freely about it? I mean, I don't know. Again, I don't know all the rules and everything that goes with this. I'm just telling you from the standpoint of me sitting there and watching this in real time, that was extremely frustrating and embarrassing to see, to be honest. That's just my point on that. Additionally, and when I say the deputy city manager, so his name is Robert Cardenas. This guy, man, he's extremely smart. I like this guy. I do like him. However, man, again, I get the frustration from the city staff, because they did try to get ahead of this. They did try to prepare it. But I didn't like the attitude. That's me. I did not like the attitude. I wasn't feeling it. You guys work for the city. Y'all get paid a lot of money to move, adapt, to adjust, to pivot. That's what y'all get paid to do, man. You guys are upset because they voted against something. Okay, well, we got to figure this out. I get it's not your decision at that point to change anything, but there should have been no reason that the attitude was the way it was. It shouldn't have been. It shouldn't have been. Y'all get paid too much. Y'all get what? So that part frustrated me as well. Truly. So, yeah, man. The other thing I didn't get to talk about, I ain't put in the outline, but there was another agenda item that was really big, and that was the marathon infirmary, wherever they make the gas at, wherever that infirmary, I think this is what it is, Marathon Infirmary, right? They had a huge leak. And I think this goes back to everything commercial-wise that's in this city. People, these owners don't take the city serious, man. That's my opinion. I really feel like they just do not take the city serious. So when all this happened, that infirmary, or whatever the hell, what is it called? Let me make sure I'm saying the right thing. Marathon Refinery. I'm sorry, it's a refinery. So the Marathon Refinery is in what district? It's in District 2. So this is Dr. Josh Acevedo. That's his district. He ended up saying that he found out this information through social media. He started seeing things from there. He lives no more than 5 miles from the refinery, and he definitely smelt it. And I actually have a property in that area. I used to live in that area, so I know about the refinery myself. And you would see that thing nonstop. You do smell within the neighborhood, but I've never had an issue when I was living there, me and my family. However, what was frustrating for him was that he called not only the gas companies. Well, he texted the gas company, so I think he has a contact there. He has a contact at the refinery, and nobody wanted to comment. And then when he figured out with the refinery, they were simply saying, well, it's something we're looking into. We're going to figure it out, blah, blah, blah. And they left it. Like they really didn't give him a lot to go off of, which was, to me, that's kind of messed up. If there is something really going on, I think that's the best person to talk to. If he has to get information out to his constituents, to the people that lives in that area, they need to evacuate. Like there should be some sort of, lifeline, man, like some sort of notification, some sort of, something has to give. If there's an actual emergency, whether they messed up or not, if it was an accident or not, regardless, there's lives at stake. And they even brought it up because someone even called in and said, if that refinery was to blow up, everything within a 5-mile radius, it could be bad. It could be bad. So there has to be some sort of evacuation plan. There has to be some sort of, some sort of radar, or not radar, but some sort of something established around that refinery that's going to let people know immediately what this could or couldn't be, and if evacuation is needed at the end of the day, that was truly an issue. There was even one person that went up to the podium and they blasted on the news, of course, because this man was very emotional about it. And I don't blame him. A lot of his family developed cancer in that area, which is crazy. Again, I used to live in that area, so it's like, man, now I'm thinking, how bad was it when I was there? And so that's a problem. That's a problem. And so what do we do? So essentially what was being had and what was being proposed was District 2 Acevedo, he was writing a letter. This letter was going to go out to who oversees the refinery, like the who was it going to be? I forgot what they were called. It was going to be some sort of, what was it going to be? The refinery. Who oversees Marathon Refinery, oversees the refinery. I think it's Q something, the refinery. There's some entity that oversees them, right? That they have to do reports, and they have to, Texas Commission, refinery, sulfate. So 60 tons of sulfate dioxide was exposed to the environment. From there, there's some sort of governmental environment entity that they have to report this to, right? And so that's who they're trying to write this letter to. I forgot what they're called, what the name was called. That was a whole argument because they didn't know who needed to write the letter, who needed to oversee. This was the other part where I said, it really felt like the staff members had an attitude, which I don't get. The lawyer gets paid a lot of money for this. She gets paid a lot. I don't know if they could have just had a conversation about it. They could have talked about this in executive session. Again, I kind of understand now what executive session is for, man. So it's not just too much. It's not being too much being introduced to the people, man, because it was again crazy. But essentially, Acevedo wanted this letter to go out, but he wanted the lawyer to review it. That was one thing. But then there was another guy, I think his name is Art. What's his name? His name is Art Federal. He wanted the lawyer to write something up or review it, rewrite it into whatever language needs to be done so they can send this out to the governor, or send this, I'm not to the governor, but send this out to who it needs to go to, whoever the authority is over Marathon. And that was like a 20-minute conversation trying to figure that out. But essentially, they're just going to go with the letter, the original letter. That's going to go over to the lawyer's office. They're going to review it from there. She'll end up sending that back to everybody else for review because they're sending it as a body, and they're going to go from there. I think that's about it. So that was the next agenda item. That was really a hot topic, and truly is a something that needed to be talked about because, again, that's insane. These companies out here are playing with the city, and that's a problem. And I'll give you another great example is this hot tax from these hotels refusing to pay. That's a problem, man. Like they're gonna have to get on people's heads at this point. Like make it known that you're not gonna disrespect the city of El Paso anymore. Like let's just make that known. We're not gonna sit here and be just letting people do whatever they want. We got to figure this out because right now people are not taking us serious. That's just what that is. And I think the last big hot topic that they were talking about, so it was the Marathon Refinery, it was the property tax, and then it was the data centers. The data center situation came up again as well. So the governor came out. He was talking basically that there's some new stuff that's coming out, rules or some stuff that he was able to figure out where I can't even remember, man. I can't remember because it was essentially there's some stuff that came out that may put some parameters or some protective actions for the city of El Paso when it comes to data centers, or it just comes to data centers throughout the state of Texas, right? But because Meta was they already have a contract, you know, it may or may not can be used with this essentially. So whatever the governor said of parameters and things that could be used to kind of protect the cities was said after this Meta center was already done, this deal's already been done. They want to write a letter essentially sending something up to the governor to clarify if these parameters or whatever he's saying can be used to protect the city of El Paso and be used right now against Meta. That's what they're trying to figure out. And so they again were writing a letter, and that was a whole issue again about this damn letter of who needs to do it and what that looks like and how the review process needs to go. And yeah, man, it was crazy to say the least. It was crazy. My opinion on that, man, is just like, man, pick up the phone, call that man, talk to his assistant, figure it out, and move on. But that's me saying something is super easy. I don't think everything's super easy. I'm pretty sure there's some laws and some other stuff you could go with, but I think if we have a relationship, I don't know if the mayor has a relationship with the governor, can we not just pick up the phone and have that conversation? If they want something official, again, I get the letter and get a response back, but unofficially, can we just call him up and say, hey, did you mean this situation before we push this letter through to you, and just move on, man? So that's what you want to see with your city leaders. You want to see that at the end of the day that your city leaders have. Oh man, I couldn't even see. Okay, Ernesto's on here. I couldn't see your comment. I couldn't even see his comment at all. Yeah, that's what it was. TECQ, that's exactly what it was. You heard on FitFam. Oh man, I couldn't see no comments at all. Now I can see it. But yeah, that conversation was something else. That conversation was something else. So let's go ahead and where we at? I don't know why the comments weren't popping up on this. Dang, I didn't get one comment on here. Let's see, can I share anything? Oh, dang, Ernesto, I got it here now. Oh, I gotta figure out how to use this. I just randomly play with this every now and then. Okay, so now we're gonna talk about, we talked about city council, some information on that. We talked about the property taxes, and then some other key issues that happened during that time. And then now, we're gonna talk about the Fair Housing Task Force appointment. So this is one thing I've been working in the background. I've been I haven't said anything to nobody about it, but I got appointed to the Fair Housing Task Force, and it's only for a short amount of time. It was funny because this was on, I forgot what part of the agenda. It was like the consent agenda or whatever. But while they were going through it, normally they just go through it quickly. I've never seen them itemize little things and then say, "Oh, we're gonna move this here or postpone it." I've never seen it, and I was like, "Oh, they ain't gonna say nothing." But I spoke right before this appointment came up, so my name was by itself, saying I was gonna be appointed to the Fair Housing Task Force board for District 5. And so District 1 rep Chavez ended up saying something about Agenda 13. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't get it. I know I didn't get it because they're upset with me, but that wasn't the case. I think she was just asking for some sort of point of order for the city clerk office to just verify some information. I think it was clerical information. After I looked it up on what she was asking. But essentially, I'm not going to be doing a full 3-year term. It'll be just simply until April, I think April 30th or something like that. That's as far as it's going to go, but that's cool. I get to see if I even like it, if I even enjoy it, if that's something I want to do. But I actually, before taking this appointment, I was looking up as much information as I could on this. They haven't met. I mean, they haven't had quorum. They haven't met in I don't know how long, man. That was insane. So I couldn't really find out any, I guess, work they've done before, any agendas before, to kind of get caught up on what's been going on with them and what they've been doing. I did go to YouTube and I was able to push some stuff out or look some stuff up when it came to the Fair Housing Task Force, right? So on the Fair Housing Task Force. So the Fair Housing Task Force, I think the last thing that came up, let me see. You guys. So the Fair Housing Task Force, where you go? It was 6 years ago, 5 years ago, man. It's around COVID time. That's the last thing I can see on the City of El Paso's YouTube channel, right? And I did watch one video. They were actually talking about some funds that they were giving out for people who are getting evicted. There was some other stuff that they were working on, but I mean, it really didn't give me too much information on it. So, plays. It didn't really. They didn't have a description on it either. So, but like I said, last time I think they even met was 6 years ago. I think I don't even know. But again, I'm still excited for the opportunity. I hope that we are able to meet and do some great things, great work. And then from there, I'll see if, going on any other boards would make any sense. Any city boards would make sense. I'm just trying to put myself in rooms and that makes sense. Not just personally for me, because there is a benefit to doing these things, right? But me personally, when it comes to politics, when it comes to sitting on boards or sitting on X, Y, and Z, I want to make the best decision. And I want representation of people who look like me. And I want to be there and be able to advocate for those individuals and advocate for everyone else, man. Like I truly have a common sense attitude when it comes to different things. Of course, there's stuff I need to be educated on. But once I understand something and have enough evidence to move forward with a decision, I can make a decision pretty quickly on what needs to happen, at least from my standpoint. And then I believe I can talk confidently about it at that point. I was just talking to my wife not too long ago about this. It's like, I do notice when I go up to the podium, I'm reading something and it's like extremely frustrating because I'm trying to read it and go over it. But I'm like, man, you know what? I know I can talk confidently about this particular agenda item. What I'm going to start doing moving forward is just creating some sort of outline and just moving forward with it, and in that way I can stay on track within my 3 minutes, because sometimes I hit that 3 minutes quickly, boy, quickly. And I'm like looking up and I'm like, I'm only halfway through the page. I didn't even make my point. So anyway, I'm excited about that opportunity. The Fair Housing Task Force is something that I just want to learn more about, see how that can help other individuals, and gaining a knowledge of different resources as well. StreamYards can put up your comments. I know, yeah, it can put up your comments. I can't see it. I don't know why it's not coming up. Or maybe because I have this on. Let me see. Take this off. No, see, new comments will appear here in real time for everyone to see. Ernesto just did this, and I don't see anything. Chris Canales just responded to Facebook. Let me see. I don't see anything. Yeah, I don't see anything. I don't see anything. Let me see. Boom, boom. Yeah, I can't see anything on this thing. I got to figure this out, Ernesto. For real, because I don't get any updates on this stuff. Any updates on this stuff. But it's where we at. So yeah, we talked about this. We talked about that. We went through the Fair Housing Task Force. So yeah, I want to get more information on that task force. We'll figure that piece out. Segueing right into the next thing. You guys know I'm part of YPN, Young Professional Network. That's another committee I love, near and dear to my heart, associated with Gephardt. This right here is something that's exciting. I get to go out next week for a couple of days to Chicago, learn a lot, bring a lot back to the association. And man, I'm actually looking forward to this. I'm not gonna lie. I've heard great things about it. And I actually got part of the group to the event that's coming up on the Facebook group. It's not a Facebook group, but they created an event and people are already commenting and stuff. So I'm excited about that and seeing what that looks like. Yeah, my goal isn't just to go to Chicago and take pictures, of course. You know, I want to network. I want to see what other realtors are doing and what ideas they have that hopefully we can bring back and create and make some great, man, I just want to create an impact. That's what I want to do. I want to create an impact. I want to do great things. And yeah, man, I love our association out here. We do a lot of great things. I will tell you that. Not because Ernesto was just on here, but essentially they do a lot of great things. And I want to see things continue that particular way. So lastly, I want to say, not lastly, but the other thing I want to say about what I'm seeing in El Paso in real estate. Oh, that's a whole nother conversation. We're going to talk about this. So we about an hour already, but give me a second here really quick. Let me see. And he said, what? Let me see. Boom, boom. Yeah, I don't know. I can't see it. He said he's saying. But now let's get into what everybody always wants to know. What is actually happening in real estate at this moment? Let's talk about recent activity, my open houses, buyer activity, seller conversations, current transactions, and sales. Again, I want to go back to this. Again, I'm a realtor, but I'm not your realtor. All of this is for educational purposes only. And I'm doing my best on trying to remember everything in the moment, man. I really am. But I want to say this too as well is when I speak, I want to make sure I say this clearly. It's as a homeowner, man, not as a realtor, not as someone associated with this or associated with that. It's me, myself, and my opinion. So please take it that way. It's me. If you got a problem with what I gotta say, talk to me, man. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. So going into open houses. So open houses for me personally going great. You know, I think every weekend I'm trying to have an open house every weekend, 4 days minimum. If I can, Well, I want to say minimum, 2 days minimum, 4 days max, if possible. This last weekend was great. It was actually an opportunity where next door, Point Homes is right next door to my open house. And so I was there Thursday, Friday, and I believe Saturday they had a 5K. I knew nothing about it, but I knew one of the building reps. We went to the real estate academy together, which is great because again, you got to have relationships within this business. It was exciting because he ended up telling me about the event. I was already going to show up super early, but I'm glad he let me know because I would have been surprised by seeing all these people out. I'd have been like, what the heck is this? But it was a great opportunity to run for a great cause. It was just a pre-run for their main event that's coming up here pretty soon. I'll give you details on that, by the way. Give me 1 second. Let me pull that up for you. So, Junior Leadership Run 5K presented by Point Homes. This is going to be October 3rd, 2026. So please register. Again, it was a lot of great run clubs out there. It was a lot of fun. I was like, man, I was exhausted. I was tired. I was in a hoodie. It was crazy. But I ended up keeping those same clothes on, making sure I freshened up before the open house just to have a story. I would never do that again because I felt like that didn't give me the best outcome that I wanted. But it was a funny story to tell, and it's something I can, I could say later on. But it was still great. So I finished the 5K, did everything I could do. Everything was already put up. I put my open house signs up first, and then I get the home prepared, ready to go. And it was still a great, great weekend just from a realtor standpoint. Now, when it comes to selling, I've had some listing appointments. This is me dealing with sellers, right? And these are conversations do help me when I'm talking at city council, right? Because, I do have that information firsthand. And what I'm seeing, at least from individuals that are purchasing their home, I don't know what's the reason. I really don't. I try to get as much as I can. Some people say they got to move for work. Some people say, it's just time to leave. Some are military and they're leaving early. But some, I feel like they just, maybe home ownership wasn't for them. But when it's time to sell their home, it's extremely difficult. It's extremely difficult. Most of them are breaking even. So when I do a CMA, a comparable market analysis on their home, it's not what they believe it's going to be. And unlike some realtors, they can do it and they'll say, hey, look, what do you want to sell the home for? Let's list it for that and let's move. I just can't do that, man. I can't do that. I'm going to give you the CMA. Hopefully we can understand it together. That's my job, is just to make sure that I'm getting you a CMA. We're having a conversation about what this looks like, what the whole selling of your home looks like. And this is the actual sales data. We need to be around here to sell your home in the least amount of time. If you want to sell it for more than what the CMA is saying, it's going to be very difficult. We can do it, but it's going to be very difficult. And I don't want to put myself in that situation. I'm going to have to be real with you. And yeah, man. So selling homes right now in El Paso is kind of tough. If you're within that 1, 2, 3 year gap. If you had your home for a while, you got a little bit of equity in it, of course, but you still may break even. Now, I would say this, and this puts a perspective that should be in your mind, is be a long-term holder, especially if you decide to move into a house. You need to be there at least 5 years minimum, man, before you even think about selling the house. That's me personally. If you're there 5 years or more, great. During the open house that I had over the weekend, I had a young lady. She's not young, but just young lady, right? She came in and she explained to me that her and her husband are downsizing, and they are looking to purchase another home. They bought their home on the west side for about $300,000 15 years ago. 15 years ago, and she's able to sell her house for like a little over $600,000. Which, that right there, man, is motivation. I think that's any city, any state you go to. If you're a long-term holder, things are going to change. As long as you're maintaining what you need to maintain and you're doing the right things, home ownership could be a great thing. could be a great thing. Now, 15 years ago, I don't know what, of course, property taxes was looking like at their standpoint. Where, wasn't a lot of MUDs, PIDs. There's a lot more HOAs popping up. So all that needs to be put into consideration now at this point in 2026. But selling a home is still doable out here in El Paso. It really is. It's just you have to make it make sense at the end of the day. And I think you can find another live video of me, man, a month ago. Depending on how you price a home, there's a lot of demand. In certain areas, it's just like homes are going like this. Other areas, there's just a lot of inventory, a lot of options, which it just slows the process down. Doesn't mean you can't sell the house. It's a little slower. That's it, right? And that's the conversation you're going to have during that listing appointment. Additionally, I would say from the buyer side, it's a great time right now, in my opinion, to buy, because you do have opportunity. There is a lot more options. And so that gives you, you don't have to rush. I'm a person about options at the end of the day. If you have options, enjoy that. Enjoy it. Because now you can sit there and say, you know what? I'm only willing to look at homes that are willing to give me money at closing. Hey, I'm only willing to look at homes that are doing X, Y, and Z. We can negotiate a little bit better with homes that have been sitting on the market a lot longer. So that helps. That helps at the end of the day. Additionally, let's see. So that's where we're at with the market. I know I'm almost hitting an hour, so I don't want to go too long. The other thing here I see, financial literacy. So I have a class coming up. This is going to be, I don't know if anyone follows Dave Ramsey. I followed Dave Ramsey for a long time. I still believe in a lot of stuff that he says at the end of the day. On the consumer side, I still believe too, I need to be able to invest, and I'm really late to the game on investing, to be honest. My goal was to have at least 10 doors by now. And I was close to it at one point, man, but that was my goal, to have at least 10 doors, 20 doors, and I would be good. So moving forward, that's going to be the goal, is trying to stack those doors up. But I say that to say this, he has certain rules. He has some baby steps that he wants you to follow that will put you in a good situation if you're looking to, just retire happy, make sure you have some money in the bank, you have emergency fund, all these different things you need to think about when it comes to just your finances. So we're going to have a class on that. Again, I'm not a tax preparer. I'm not a CPA. I'm not any of those professionals, right? I'm just someone giving you information. So it's just for educational purposes only. Again, I'm a realtor, but I'm not your realtor. But it's just an opportunity to be exposed to certain things and resources as well. Like I said, I follow a lot of his videos. Even if you don't go to this class, I'll tell you one thing you can do that'll make you feel not as bad about how far or how much you're in debt is listen to his radio show, man. Listen to people call in. Some people are in debt $100, $200, $300,000 in debt. So someone who's a doctor making crazy money, $300,000 a year salary, whatever, a lot of them are still extremely broke and they're living check to check. And you got people that are, making 60, 70, 80,000 a year and they're winning. It depends, so my goal, hopefully by the end of this year or halfway into next year, is to be debt free. I was debt free at one point all the way, and then I started getting into real estate, doing some other things. But my goal is simply to be debt free on my consumer side, so I can truly focus on just investing and then also purchasing more property. But it's making sure I have the right tenants in those properties to continue on with that particular with my overall portfolio. So that's ultimately the goal, man. And then so if this is something you want to participate in or you want to see, I only got 20 seats. It's at the downtown library. I am going to live stream it. If you're following on my website as well, I got a live stream. I have a live stream tab you can click on the website. And as I'm live streaming, you can see it from there as well. I don't know what it looks like because on Facebook I look blurry, but on here it looks super clear. And I'm at home, so I'm confused because the way my stuff looks super. It's like, ugh. I don't know why it looks like this. Why it looks so grainy. That's crazy to me, man. Yeah, it's crazy to me. I don't know why it looks so grainy. I got to figure this out. But anyway, yeah. So the financial literacy class will be September 20th. Come down, check me out, RSVP. You can go to my website. I have everything set up already to get your seat early. We're gonna be talking about a lot about purchasing home. This is strictly just try to help you out, make you knowledgeable about the 3 credit bureaus, more about your credit profile, things you can do. Hopefully, I'm able to secure someone who does credit repair as well as a lender there as well, and how that affects your home. The conversation hopefully won't go too long on that. Again, I simply want this to be educational for people to use to help benefit themselves. And if you happen to want to buy a house, of course, or you're planning or you're thinking about it and you're trying to prepare yourself, of course, we can have those conversations. But I just want this information to be out there because I know there's a lot of people living check to check, a lot of people who cannot deal with any sort of raise on anything, So, the decisions that are being made throughout El Paso is one of those decisions where, man, can I afford to turn the water on? Can I afford to eat? Can I afford X, Y, and Z? Like, I want to be a help if I can, I know I was in the military. That's when it hit me. And prior to that, every year I would do my taxes. I would see how much money I made at the end of the year. Even when I was working a minimum wage job, whatever. And at the end of the year, I was like, man, I made this much money. I have nothing. Matter of fact, I'm negative. And that was for years. It was going on for years. And then this is when I was deployed down to Afghanistan, is when I really said I had the time and I started looking at my credit and I'm like, this is crazy, man. And if something was to happen to me out here, what am I leaving to my family? Nothing, So that's when I took it serious. And that's when I got part of Dave Ramsey had a boot camp strictly for military at that point. And I got introduced to it then. And I started watching it nonstop. I would listen to the radio and I'm like, oh my God, I'm in a bad situation, but I'm not in a bad situation, not like everybody else across the country. So that was one thing. But if you want more information on that, go on my website, MikeClark.ElPasoRealtor.com. Got a lot of resources on there as well. Lastly, let me see who's renting right now to buy houses. So yeah, that's that. Now, real estate is what I do, but housing is bigger than just buying, selling houses. Fair housing and making sure homeowners and future homeowners understand what's happening around them. That's what's bigger right now. That's what's bigger. I want you guys to understand that as well. I need you to reserve your seat. I got 20 seats available. Follow the page. You can get more information about that. Again, we talk about all things in the city, county, all those great stuff. Just my opinion. Again, this is not expertise. I'm not an expert at the government or all this stuff. And I'm learning in real time. I'm learning, bro. I'm learning. However, again, I'm just trying to gather as much information as possible to try to really articulate myself enough that I can bring the information back out to you guys so y'all can have a perspective of what's going on. So if there's something you're interested in, please continue to follow me and continue to see what I'm doing. Keep up with me, of course, and we're going to keep pushing things out. Remember as well, man, when I'm discussing properties, availability, pricing, incentives, property status can change, at any moment. It's a lot of my other content as well. I had to go through and scrub and make sure I don't have anything up there. But when it comes to open houses, when it comes to listings, when it comes to things that are pending, things can change at any moment. So you want to make sure you're contacting me for current information. When discussing financing or credit, this is just general information. Again, remember, educational information and isn't individualized financial, legal, tax information, lending or credit repair advice. It's none of that. When discussing the City Fair Housing Task Force, these are just my personal views at the end of the day. It doesn't represent any official position of the city or El Paso or the Fair Housing Task Force, of course. It's just me talking all day. And again, you'll see that every time I go to the panel or go up to the podium, I'm talking about Mike Clark, homeowner, father, citizen of El Paso, someone that lives in District 5. That's it, at the end of the day. Doesn't represent anybody else. When I'm discussing Gephardt, NAR, anything like that, of course, I'm just sharing my personal experience, right? In perspective. I'm not speaking on behalf of Gephardt, YPN, or the National Association of Realtors at all. That's just, again, it's me talking me. And I want you to understand that as well. No one's making me do anything. This is all because I want to do it. One day I just looked up and I said, man, who's gonna talk about this? Who's showing up? I expect this organization. Now I remember to myself, I'm not a kid anymore. I'm an adult. Even a kid, they still can do it. I've seen some young kids, some articulate kids at 18, 17, going up to city council and killing it, man. But I've never had the confidence to say, you know what, I'm gonna get involved. And I looked up and I said, you know what could hurt? Let me get involved. Let me see what I can do. Let me see if I can be a part of any sort of change. Let me represent the next leader that wants to participate in this. And you don't have to be 100% ready to take on leadership at any point. You could just get into it, and then from there you're figuring things out. So, again, everything that happens on the city is like, there's some great things that's happening too. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of great things that's happening. I love this city. It does great things for me. Great opportunities. I tell you, man, my family wants to leave and I want to stay. That's how much I love El Paso and I love Fort Bliss. And it's just been one of those things, man. But there may be an opportunity where I may be moving. I don't know yet. I may be moving, but for the most part, I'm here. I'm locked in. I'm ready to go. And yeah, man, I'm just excited. I'm excited for everything else that's popping off. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything specific, there's some stuff in there that Ernesto was talking about. So just let me clarify on some stuff, man, real quick. Because I think he put the comments. So there was a letter that was going to be written out. Dang, let me see. He put it on here. I just want to make sure I put it in here really quick for you guys. I was trying to look it up and I couldn't find it quick enough. Damn. I can't even pull it up. I'll clarify it in the notes, man. I'll clarify it in the notes. I've already went on too long. But again, I appreciate y'all. Please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. You want to get in contact with me, of course. That QR code is up there at the very top. It'll take you to all my social media handles. It'll take you to my website. It'll give you as much information as possible on Mike Clark and what he's doing in the city. Again, lastly, I'm a realtor, but I'm not your realtor. Until we sign some sort of representation agreement, then we're locked in. We're like this, right? But I'm excited out here. I'm motivated. I'm ready to do what I got to do out here. And if you need anything, please reach out to me. I've had people reach out to me as well. I want to say this too. I've had people reach out to me as well on events. I've been hosting a lot more events than normal. We just finished the Sun City Golf Tournament, which was successful, was great. I enjoyed it from start to finish. And that was a whole thing, man, to put that together. And so if that's something you're looking to put together, or you're looking for sponsors, I'm always looking for opportunities to sponsor an event as well, or just participate in as well. Please reach out to me. That is something I'm definitely looking to do. I want to be and have my name all throughout El Paso as someone that's supporting different nonprofits and also just, helping as much as I can. And the youth, I'm real big with the youth, man. So I'm a youth football coach. I love it. I love talking to kids and mentoring kids and just exposing them to all the possibilities, not just things that we see every day, like exposing them to truly different opportunities they would have never been exposed to. So again, if that's something that you're interested in, please reach out to me. My name, Mike Clark, realtor out here in El Paso, Texas. My number is 915-487-6602. You can call me anytime. All right. Till next time, we out. Peace.